Developed, created, and owned by James PoeArtistry Productions.
You are now listening to the Perceptive Readers Podcast.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Perceptive Readers. I'm James Lynch. This is part 4 of the Perceptive Readers week, and this will, conclude the week that I told you about that we would do with this podcast, is showing you some of the topics that we covered over the years. Just, small points here and there. Well, for part 4, this will be, I guess you could say, a full-blown Perceptive Readers. In other words, it will be longer, but I still would like to keep it really within 30 minutes. So what is the topic going to be about? What is the topic that you have grown accustomed to that, I may talk about periodically? It's not every podcast. It's not even on a weekly basis all the time. But at specific points or times throughout the year, because of something that may be happening or something that I heard or a question or what have you, then I will reference a certain book, a book I call the Good Book. I use many, translations, yet for this one tonight, I'm going to use the New World Translation to cover this topic. And it's an important topic for every single person who's listening to actually really give heed to, because there's going to be a couple of things that you can really take away from this. And we have a good example to take this away from. All right. So here is the thought. Here's the topic. It's more in a form of a question, because let me ask you this. Have you ever heard someone say they are a light worker? And have you ever asked them, what does that mean? Well, it entails quite a bit, but what they're still basically saying is, I'm teaching you through a way of a spiritual way or on a spiritual level how to improve your life, how to, better yourself, personality, and, everything along those lines. They will tell you, look, all I want to do is just help you. Now, the next question you may ask then is, do you know everything? And what would they reply back to you? Every single one of them will reply back, no, I don't. There's always somebody who knows more than what I know, or knows something on a different level than I know. So no. See, it doesn't mean that you lose any less respect for them, do you? Because already the information that they may be sharing about your health, how to take care of yourself and things of that nature, it has helped you, okay? And so that's the thing about it. We are supposed to help one another, help our neighbors, things of that nature. So that shows a modesty and a humility whenever you ask somebody, even the ones who claim that they are light workers, whether they know everything or not, and they end up saying, no, I don't. And there's always someone who knows more than me, if not several other persons or levels higher than me, even though this person knows a lot. Now that's important to keep in mind, because they are mentioned. We're always trying to elevate ourselves to get a better understanding, a clearer understanding, and we move up in levels of understanding. All right. Now, that's the gist of the conversation you will have in the beginning as far as gauging their knowledge or gauging someone's knowledge in that way. So here it is. There are topics that come up from time to time. And when these topics come up, You will hear one person give you some informative information, and often this may deal with, is there life after death? Will we ever be healed of all our ailments? Things of that nature. And so you will have one person who is trying to shine some light, give you some information in one way, and then you'll have another person give you some information another way. And the thing about it is, it at times get to a point where, they're conflicting as far as what's being said. So you may say, okay, will I be healed or not? Can a person live again or not? And you can have different light workers explaining it in different ways, and actually sometimes, disagreeing with one another, even though they're, cordial towards one another, but they're still basically disagreeing about how certain things will come about. And yet you will see that still, as they would, state themselves, they're on different levels. All right. Okay. So one person may say, all right, I'll go ahead and in this case, yield to your thinking on this because I know you're much on a different level of understanding than I am at this time for this. And see, and that's why they quote different persons. They quote one another at times, do they not? Yes, they do. So it goes to show that they're saying, hey, I'm adding some credibility. Some people may say even a qualifier for the point that I'm making. All right. So again, showing modesty and humility to someone else's experience, someone else's knowledge. All right. And they do that because they respect them. They do that because they may even acknowledge, okay, you're on a different level than I am, and you're where I want to be. Okay. Now, we've covered that. So, this account that I want to share with you, with Jesus, when he was on the earth, he healed people. He raised people from the dead. He even talked to God, according to the good book. Now, what I want you to do is pay close attention to this reading that's going to be in John chapter 5, verses 25 all the way through 47. And I also want you to notice the tone in the way that he spoke it, the way that he said it, because you haven't heard me say this for a while. But remember when I used to say, you can say anything that you want to say, just in the right way. And I wasn't saying it in a way of saying that to censor your speech. That's not what I was saying. What I'm mentioning again is whatever you have coming out your mouth, don't you want the person to understand it and even at best, maybe even act upon it? So you don't necessarily, as some people may say, water it down, but you are still saying it in a dignified, yes, even a respectful way to the audience. And so please pay close attention to John chapter 5, verses 25 through 47, because it's actually addressing everything that we have talked about for the past, 9 minutes now. Okay. And then, we're going to make some concluding thoughts about, light workers and different levels and things of that nature. All right. So John chapter 5, verses 25 through 47. Jesus said, "Most truly I say to you, the hour is coming, and it is now, when the dead will hear the voice of the Son of God, and those who have paid attention will live. For just as the Father has life in himself, so he has granted also to the Son to have life in himself. And he has given him authority to do judging, because he is the Son of Man. Do not be amazed at this, for the hour is coming in which all those in the memorial tombs will hear his voice and come out, those who did good things to a resurrection of life, and those who practice vile things to a resurrection of judgment. I cannot do a single thing of my own initiative. Just as I hear, I judge, and my judgment is righteous, because I seek not my own will, but the will of him who sent me. If I alone bear witness about myself, my witness is not true. There is another who bears witness about me, and I know that the witness he bears about me is true. You have sent men to John, and he has borne witness to the truth. However, I do not accept a witness from man, but I say these things so that you may be saved. That man was a burning and shining lamp, and for a short time you were willing to rejoice greatly in his light. But I have the witness greater than that of John. For the very works that my Father assigned me to accomplish, these works that I am doing, bear witness that the Father sent me. And the Father who sent me has himself borne witness about me. You have neither heard his voice at any time, nor seen his form. And you do not have his word residing in you, because you do not believe the very one he sent. You are searching the scriptures because you think that you will have everlasting life by means of them. And these are the very ones that bear witness about me. And yet you do not want to come to me, so that you may have life. I do not accept glory from men, but I well know that you do not have the love of God in you. I have come in the name of my Father, but you do not receive me. If someone else came in his own name, you would receive that one. How can you believe when you are accepting glory from one another, and you are not seeking the glory that is from the only God? Do not think that I will accuse you to the Father. There is one who accuses you, Moses, in whom you have put your hope. In fact, if you believed Moses, you would believe me, for he wrote about me. But if you do not believe his writings, how will you believe what I say? So, do you see how everything that was in this reading in Jesus' conversation or discussion here, we talked about in the first 10 minutes of this podcast, which dealt with what? One's trying to shine light, shed light. We talked about, humility and how they reference one another, even quote one another, and even to the point of, really saying, well, that person is where I want to be. I'm trying to get to where you're at. Okay. So notice how Jesus referenced John. Sometimes people call him John the Baptist, or baptizer. And remember, John was a highly favored man upon this earth that God loved dearly. And yet God only gave still John, which was a lot of knowledge, but he still gave John the appropriate amount of knowledge that he needed to know when the Messiah would be on the earth, and to basically already prepare the people's hearts and minds to be ready to accept him. But did John still know everything that Jesus knew? Remember, even when Jesus went to get baptized by John, John said, look, I'm not even fit to take your sandals off your feet, or tie your sneakers, we might say today. See, and that's what John said. And yet all the people and the religious leaders and stuff, not every religious leader might have liked John, but they knew very well they but dignified and respected him, you see, at least to his face, So the whole point is, he was highly regarded, shining light of the truth, making the way straight, so to speak, so that when the Messiah was on the earth, then he could point to the people and say, okay, you're following me now. Because he actually had people following around. And then John still ended up saying, okay, you're following me now. But see, he is the next level. He's where you want to be at. And he's going to explain further what I explained to you just on an earthly level. He's going to tell you things more on a heavenly, spiritual level. Okay? So, still addressing more of this being on a different level and understanding and things of that nature, and how persons show humility. And when they show that humility, they're always saying, yes, there's always someone who is higher than me. You never know it all. You never know it all. You see what I'm saying? As our human form and things of that nature, human bodies. Okay. All right. Well, when does it finally stop? Who is at the top? Okay. I'm going to turn over to Hebrews chapter 1, and I'm just going to read 4 verses. All right. And then, we'll be able to conclude within the next 10 minutes. In Hebrews chapter 1, verses 1 through 4, it states, long ago, God spoke to our forefathers by means of the prophets on many occasions and in many ways. Now, at the end of these days, he has spoken to us by means of a Son, whom he appointed heir of all things, and through whom he made the systems of things. He is the reflection of God's glory and the exact representation of his very being. And he sustains all things by the word of his power. And after he had made a purification for our sins, he sat down at the right hand of the Majesty on high. So he has become better than the angels to the extent that he has inherited a name more excellent than theirs. So, when do we finally stop saying, hey, I'm going to go ahead and listen to this one or this person because he's on that level or she's on that level that I want to be at? And then that person or that person. Well, guess what? According to the good book, where it talks about Jesus' elevated position, and even John the Baptist, where we say it was no other man on the face of this earth that was ever born like him before. You see, now that tells you something like that. So if these other persons who was shining light ended up saying, that's the level that I'm trying to get to. This is the one that I will yield my not knowing or respectfully my ignorance to tell me how this really works, you see. And so what ends up happening is, since Jesus is on the right hand of God, that's the level. That's the level. We no longer have to say nobody knows it all, because with Jesus, he got right beside him the one who does know it all, the grand creator. So if it's something Jesus don't know, which is certainly nothing we could ask him that he wouldn't know, you see, but that is the whole thing. And why is this so important? Because I mentioned before that there are a lot of persons who, like I said, are doing their best to shine light and very much respected so, yet when there are contradictions in, okay, what is the state of when a person dies? What is the state of a person who may be missing different body parts and organs, and it has cancerous, illnesses and all sorts of things? When will that be healed? How will it be healed? Can a person really live again? And so, and when will they live again? You see, so when you have different light workers that you respect. And see, and Jesus talked about this, how he was saying there were many ones among them that they respected one another, but they weren't respecting him, and they weren't even, really respecting Moses. And yet God was already saying, and that's what it talks about in Hebrews, that it said, look, God has sent you all these prophets and these other great men, but here it is now. He's sending you the best that he got. He's sending you the top of the level of understanding of knowledge. Yes, God even called him knowledge himself, personified, you see, in another part of the good book, okay? So, here's the thing. Rather than always looking, just saying, hey, I'm yielding to this light worker on this level or that level, whatever, I'm here today to tell you, the light worker that you're looking for was Jesus. Jesus is at that level and really infinite beyond that you are trying to get to. So if that's that level you're trying to get to, and you already show that you respect all these other ones who have these different theories on certain things of spirituality and life after death, and how different things work, even how the Holy Spirit works, how it should be used, and even how it shouldn't be used. But that's a different story. That's a different story, or that's a different account. But all the same, Jesus is the one that can explain that. And so the question that I end with now is, would you respect him, or do you respect him the same way that you respect one another? See, he was a real man. He shined light. A lot of people respect him. So, is it a possibility again, he really did reach that level, or was already on that level that you said you're trying to get to? And if he is, shouldn't you already start listening to him now? Thank you for being here in this special week of the Perceptive Readers. And like I said, this will be part 4. And I thank you for subscribing and continuing to share, the podcast with everybody, that you know or don't know, in the coffee shop or what have you. And you just have a very nice day, and remember to continue to actually allow the smile you see in your mind and your heart to shine forth. You take care of yourself.
You have just listened to the Perceptive Readers podcast. Remember, until next time, if you read something that encourages you to improve or enhance your life for the better, it becomes your reality.